So hi guys, welcome back to Okong'o Migayi's channel, my channel. Uh, I'm hoping that you guys had a good day. I'm just from work, and hope also you guys had a wonderful time at work, or if you're at home, hope you had a wonderful day. Um, so maybe let me start with a question today. Like as always, most time I ask a question. Let me ask a question also today. So the question is basically, how do you define failure? Uh, do you define it as uh, not missing a mark in your life, like not meeting an objective? Or do you define it as a feeling? Maybe you feel disappointed, so like disappointment, basically. I don't know. I'm curious to know how you guys define failure, or what is failure to you, and how many times have you failed and you've ended up succeeding? Or are you in a situation where you feel like you've already failed and there's no way out? Um, as a young man, maybe I'm not in the right position to define to define failure yet. You can argue, because maybe failure should be defined by someone who has lived through life, or someone who has more experience in terms of more years. But for me, I noticed something. There's something that I've noticed about our society, and what I mean by society, I don't mean it as the continent or my country, Kenya. No, no, I mean it in general. And what I've noticed is the society defines failure in a very specific way. And correct me if I'm wrong, but from my experience and from what I've seen over the years, failure is defined by missing an objective within a specific time. I'll give you an example. You go to school to study, and then at the end of that, there is an exam. You're given, in our case, we have, I went through a system called 844. So we have 8 years in primary school, 4 years in secondary school, and another 4 years in university. So, for the primary school, the timeline that you've been given is 8 years. You go through those 8 years, learn, and at the end of those 8 years, you're given an exam. And from that exam, they determine if you, the system determines if you've passed or failed. The same way with the 4 years in secondary school, and the same way with the 4 years in university. And within each and every uh, section, whether it's primary, secondary, and university, within them, of course, we have cuts, and also we have exams. So end term exams or end year exams. And also those are pegged on time. So we're given about 4 months of study. Then in the fifth year, in the fifth month, you do an end term exam, or fifth or sixth, you do an end term exam before the holidays. And for me, that really defines how society views failure, in the sense that if I go through this specific time that the society has given me, or the system has given me, and I fail to meet a certain target or mark or an objective, if I fail to meet that threshold, I'm termed as a failure. The same case with, let's get out of classroom. Let's go to uh, work or employment. You get employed, you're given tasks. Uh, so we have quarter, uh, quarterly objectives, half year objectives, and financial year, end of year objectives. So you are tested based on all this. So if 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 maybe time runs out of either quarterly, half year or full year, if times run out and you've not met the objective as an employee, you're either ranked as someone who's done so well or someone who's dragging the company behind. The same thing applies to other things. Let's get out of employment and classroom and we take it to life. And mostly this is social life. So uh, there are expectations. So expectations are now objectives in the society or in social lives. So you you're expected by a child is expected by the time they grow, they get to around 6 months or 1 year, they should be able to walk or talk. If none of that is happening, then now the parents start getting worried. Something might be wrong. Some kids I know delay up to around 2 or 3 years. No experience. I'm just saying maybe or even 5 years. Some of them even delay to talk until they're 5 years. Uh, if you leave the child, you go to someone who's struggled to go through school. So you expect, for example, in our case, if you are the expected age for you to finish primary is I think is 14 years, 13, 14 years thereabout. So if someone is in primary and they're in their mid-teens, actually mid-teens or late teens or even 20 years, it raises a question. So guys start raising eyebrows. The same applies to when you go to secondary. If someone who is over 20 is still in secondary, people raise eyebrows. The same with university, but not so much with university though. Not so much with university. And we go back to, let's take it to another place. Marriage. You by the time you are a certain age, you're expected, as a lady, you're expected to marry by a certain age. As a man, by the time you're a certain age, the people expect you to by a certain age, you're supposed to have married and settled. And after marriage, there's that another expectation, which is you've married and we're not seeing the fruits. So guys are asking you about kids. So there's that expectation. And now people start raising eyebrows. When I mention raising eyebrows, I mean failure. The tag failure starts coming in. Or you start, either the society judges you, individuals in the society judges you, or you start judging yourself. The same goes to uh, by a certain age you're supposed to have left your parents' house. By a certain age you're supposed to have achieved etc. That, all those tags. So that's why I'm asking you guys. I hope I'm making sense to everyone here. So does it click that failure is defined by society in a specific way? And what do you think that could you like put it in a statement how the society defines failure? There's a method to what I'm driving at. I'm just gonna get to it in a few. So from all those illustrations, I can tell you that society defines failure as uh, when you miss an objective within a specific time frame. So for society, it defines failure based on objective and time. So if the objective is missed within a specific time, then you're tagged as a failure. But is that really failure? What do you guys think? Is that really failure? I don't think it's, and because you see, most of the time we get into depression, anxieties, and all kinds of uh, struggles, emotional struggles, because of how society has defined us or has defined things for us. So society becomes our mirror uh, instead of us defining what we want for ourselves. So I hope I hope I'm making sense. Yes. So for me, I'll really counter what the society, how the society defines failure with this illustration. Let's say you are let's say you are 40 years and maybe you are meant to live or you're meant to die when you're 80. So it means you're 40 years and you've fallen short of what the society defines. Maybe you have not gotten a good job, so you have not settled down. You don't have kids. You have not built your own house. All those things that you're supposed to be, the society expects you to have done by the time you're 40, you have not achieved them. Or let me just put it as low as 25, you have not achieved them. Or even 30, you have not achieved them. And maybe you're meant to live up to 80. So, according to the society, since you've not met the expectation of where you are at, they deem you as a failure. What what most of the time we are forgetting is if you're meant to die at 80, it means you have probably 40 more years if you're 40 years, or 50 more years if you're 30 years. So in other words, you have more years to recover. In quotes, you have more years to even pursue other things and even succeed. And so for me, I just want to encourage anyone who feels like they're a failure right now, is, or if you feel you're a failure yourself, is don't be define your own success and failures, and keep pursuing what it is that you want to achieve, because life experience is different for everyone, and sometimes you might think that things are not working out for you, therefore you are doing everything wrong, but it's never always the case. Sometimes things just delay for some reason, or sometimes the opportunity that you're working towards its time has not yet come. And I'll leave you guys with something that I learned a few years ago from some motivational speaker. I can't remember his name. And this is what he was talking about, almost the same thing that I'm talking about right now. And he mentioned something called Chinese bamboo tree. And basically, Chinese bamboo tree is a tree, or is a plant that takes 5 years to grow. The first 4 years, actually, the first 4 or 5 years, basically, that's like 90% of its lifetime, it spends under the ground. So, in other words, for those 4 years, uh, you the farmer waters the seed, and there's nothing that comes out of the ground, nothing, zero. So they have to keep on watering it for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, fourth year, nothing happens. You can't see anything. But when it gets to the fifth year, it sprouts and shoots so high. The motivational speaker was asking, how long does it take for the Chinese bamboo tree to grow? Is it 1 year, which is the 5 years, the fifth year, or is it the whole 5 years? That's a nice question to ask yourself, especially when you're going through this phase. If you're going through any phase of failure or any phase of doubting yourself, ask yourself, uh, how long does it how long does it take to succeed? Is it is it the time that you see success, immediate success, or sometimes success has to come from perseverance, or experimenting with different things? One thing works or nothing doesn't. Because for me, I believe the best success is the one that has experience, and the one that has gone through a lot of failures to a point where now it is wise enough to even appreciate and take care of success than the one that comes so quick and instantly that you don't value success. You don't value the fruits of success, and at the same time, you are not wise enough when you are challenged by other new scenarios. So basically, that's my view. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to me today. Looking forward to talk to you guys tomorrow again, and take care of yourself and take care. Anyone who's been, if you like this content, kindly let me know. Other than that, thank you guys, and peace.